All right, welcome everybody. So this is going to be a quick video outlining like how to get a robot to follow like a black line and then ultimately also to stop at like another colored line. All right, this is going to be like a great base for so many of our projects that we do in here because so often we rely on line following to like get our robots to where we need it to be. So let's talk about like setting up the robot from the get-go here. So we're going to grab the like when program starts block and we're going to begin setting up our robot. And it really doesn't matter what robot we're creating. The first thing we really need to do is set up what our movement motors are, and we need to make sure that they're going the right way. So first of all, I only have 2 motors on my project, but if I turn, I've already connected to my robot. If I turn my left wheel, and if you look up here, we can see that it is my B wheel that's really like changing angles, okay? So my left wheel is my B. If I turn my other wheel, my A wheel, you can see how those angles are changing also, right? There it's at like, what, close to 250. Here we turn it, we're at like 300, then we like loop back over again. Okay, so those are my drive motors, A and B. Now, I'm going to slow my robot down for the moment, let's say like 15%. And then I'm going to tell my robot to start moving forward. So really before I do like anything else, I want to check that when I tell my robot to move forward, that it in fact goes forward. If I click play, you can see that my robot is in fact moving backwards. Super easy to fix that. We're going to go to set movement motors and we're going to click over here. And instead, right now it's AB. First, we're going to click on B, and then we can click on, like, it'll just flip-flop them, okay? If I have more than 2 motors, I can select them both. But now my motors, instead of being AB, are now BA, which again, my left motor is my B motor. So now when I click play, now my robot does in fact drive forward, which is great. We want our robots to go the proper direction because then forward is forward, back is back, left is left, right is right. We do not want them to go backwards. So for right now, I really only need set my movement motor to BA, okay? We're then going to create a function or what they call in Lego my blocks. So we're going to make a block and I'm going to call this basic line following, which basic, ultimately, you're probably going to need different line following for our next project. Basic line following just basically means it's going to follow a black line, okay? So basic line following. This is a function. We can call this function multiple times by grabbing this block, now, basic line following, and attaching that. And if I click play, the robot does nothing, because I haven't defined what should happen inside of the basic line following block. So we're going to set that up next. So to begin with today, we're going to start with a forever loop. Later on, we're going to change this loop, but for right now, we're going to start with a forever. And we're going to now take a look at our like light sensors, okay? So our line following sensors are really color sensors. When I put my finger in front of like one of my sensors, it shows up as like a different color. In my case, it's like red. So my left sensor is my F sensor, while my right sensor is my E sensor. Okay, so left is F. So I'm going to grab an if block. Ultimately, there's a couple of different options. Option A is when a robot is like straddling the line, kind of like it currently is right now. Both of my sensors measure white, which means that it is where it belongs. It can also be drifting off to the right side of the line, in which case our left sensor, the F sensor in my case, is going to turn black. And that means that my robot needs to turn towards the left and drive back to get onto the line. If we go too far, then our right sensor is going to turn black. In this case, that's E. So we really have three different states. Either A, we're going the right way and both are white, or our like F sensor is black, or our E sensor is black. So let's get started creating our go straight block. We're going to say if, and again, we need our E and our F to measure whites in order to go straight. So we're going to grab an AND block from operators, and then we're going to get our sensors from sensors. We're going to find the E is color red, and I'm going to put this into both my AND blocks. Now again, my left sensor is the F sensor, so I'm going to take the left block and turn it to F, then the other one's going to be E. Okay, so my left sensor is F, my right sensor is E, and I'm going to set this so that both are white. So if the F sensor is white and the E sensor is white, that means we're straddling the line like we're supposed to, or we're completely off the line, but that's a whole nother problem. And we want our robot to go forward. In order to go forward, we're going to add more movement. So click the extensions block and grab more movement. Once you've done that, now we have more movement blocks. We're going to start our robot moving forward at a particular speed. Now, forward means that both wheels go the same speed. The faster you go, the harder it's going to be for your robot to follow a line. So we're going to start off with 50% speed for both our left and our right. So at this point, that tells our robot, hey, in this instance, when we are straddling the line, go straight. Now we're going to work on the instance where our left sensor is seeing the black. So we're going to click with 2 fingers on the if, and we're going to duplicate, put this underneath, okay? So now, if my F sensor is black, then we want our robot to turn towards the left. Okay, that's going to bring us back in. So to turn towards the left, we want to slow our left wheel down. That way the right wheel overpowers it. So to begin with here, I'm just going to divide my number in half. So now both motors move forward, but my left motor moves at 25% and my right motor moves at 50%. That's going to cause the robot to turn and then like get back onto the mark. Okay, so that's 2 of our 3 bits. Our last bit is just the opposite of what we have. So in this case, our left sensor would be white, our right sensor would be black. In this case, we want to turn towards the right. So we're going to tell the left wheel to be 50 and the right wheel to be 25. So now, if I put my robot down and I click play, we should see this thing start to hit my computer, go around the corner. Now, sometimes it will skip over the line. That's something that we're going to need to like edit on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes it's best to like increase the difference so that we turn tighter. Like maybe instead of 25%, I'm going to change this to like 15%. That makes it so that my turns are now tighter, and we should follow the line a little bit better. Okay, good. Now let's make it so we stop when we see a green point. Okay, so let's say that we're going in this like clockwise rotation. My right sensor is going to be the sensor that sees the green line. Okay, so again, my right sensor is my E sensor. So we're going to break out of this code with a little bit of like work here. So instead of a forever loop, we take these 3 ifs and move them out. We're going to get rid of forever. In controls, there is a repeat until block. So this is basically a forever block that has an exit strategy. Okay? So we're going to put our code back into here. We're going to repeat this code constantly until something changes. In this case, that something is going to be the color that our right sensor, or in my case, my E sensor, measures. I want to say when it measures green, that's when I want you to stop running the code. So how do we make it stop running? Well, we repeat until E is green. Once E sees green, it's going to kick us out of our repeat until, and it's going to bring us to the bottom of our code. At that point, we're going to tell our robot to stop moving. So let's move it past the green mark. Let's click play. And now my robot will drive around the corner. And then once it hits the green mark, it's going to stop. So that's the goal. If we wanted our robot to go the other way, I could say F instead. And now I could flip the robot around so it drives the opposite direction and click play. Now it'll follow the other way. Now my left sensor is the one that's going to pick up. So in both instances here, we're using line following and we're using our light sensors to tell our robot to stop moving. Once you've completed this activity, show the mentors or me your code and your robot working, and then we will give you points for this last activity, or this last game that we're going to get started on, okay? All right. Let us know if you have questions.